Welcome back to the show. Always great to be with you. Jeff DeForest, Mike Luby Lubitz here on South Florida Live, and it's always great to welcome this gentleman to the program. Always enjoy talking with Dave Hyde of the South Florida Sun Sentinel and also author of many books, including what looks to be an immediate hit. David, first of all, how are you? And congratulations. I've seen the response to Swagger, your book with Jimmy Johnson, and overwhelmingly favorable reviews of this book. So congratulations on that. How are you, Dave?
Oh well, Defo, when you make some big bestsellers list, that's always fun to do. Yeah, so all good.
Yes.
Yeah, driving up to watch the Marlins right now, opening day of practice.
Is that right? I mean, what's there to see? I guess we have Alcantara. The Schumacher seems like. I mean, if you were going to replace Don Mattingly with a guy that's getting his first shot, he seems to check all the boxes of what you would look for in terms of what he says, his attitude, his
Well,
approach.
they wanted somebody younger and fresher, and I'm reading between the lines here. You know, they had some issues in the clubhouse with, say, how Jazz Chisholm carried himself, if you remember, to the mid last season, and
Yes.
so they probably want someone a little more relatable to today's players. I love Mattingly. I thought he brought an air of professionalism to him, but you know, the bottom line is the manager's not going to matter at the Marlins until the roster matters, and we're a long way from that.
Well, there have been, I don't know, would you consider these veiled attempts to try and improve things? In today's game, it seems like you need power, number one, and, pitching obviously is important. They do have some pitching, but they gave up some to get a guy that hits for average, which is something else that they were lacking, getting the American League batting champion. Did they do enough to have any significant difference in people's expectations and the ultimate outcome, at the end of the season?
Quick answer, no.
There's reason to go, yeah. Turn around, Dave.
The three teams they're looking up at in the AFC East.
The NL East.
We got powerhouse roster. Business owners make no bones about it. They don't care about making money off baseball. They say they'll lose money.
And I got a scratchy connection there, Louie. Maybe we're going to.
Same old story. It's the same old story.
There you are. Okay. Are you in a tunnel somewhere, Dave? We're kind of losing you. We're thinking about fixing that connection there.
Sort of.
All right. All right, Louie, why don't you dial Dave back up here, and we'll see if we can't correct that so people can understand what he's saying, because it's out of sync, kind of like the Super Bowl lip syncing of Rihanna, where once again they put together. You're waiting for Bruce Lee to pop out and start throwing karate chops at somebody because it looks like you're watching a kung fu movie, and it sounds that way too. That's interesting. I didn't see any. There's really no buzz. It seems like going into any season with the Miami Marlins. Luby and I tried our best to drum up interest in the Marlins the last several seasons that we were working at 940 Wins. We were the flagship station for the. Oh, good. Dave's back with us here. But I was saying we were a flagship station. We try to be as enthusiastic as we can. Dave, are you back with us?
Is that any better?
Yes.
Oh man! Holy moly! It's like we just invented sound again. This is great, coming in loud and clear. All right. You were saying, and you were kind of elaborating on the idea that there was really no reason. I guess what we caught was the division. Obviously, has an immensely top-heavy picture right now, with Philadelphia having gone to the World Series and putting up a bold challenge there, coming on late in the season, and the Mets spending money that's so out of control. They've started a new commission. It's almost like the Trump presidency, where every day there's a new commission to examine what the hell is going on out there. And they're talking about, as they have been for centuries, it seems like, maybe instituting a salary cap because of Steve Cohen.
Yeah, well, the Braves, throw in the Braves, and there's three heavyweights in the AFC, the
Absolutely.
NL East, look, the Phillies and Mets owners have said they will lose money to win titles. that's going not only a step beyond the Marlins,
Yeah.
a country mile beyond the Marlins. Is beyond what any owner says, and so they're the Marlins. Let's start here. Derek Jeter was a disaster. Of all 5 years of drafting, one player made the major leagues.
Yeah.
Okay, so he left the team in complete shambles, and now here they go. They're going to have to do the same thing again: rebuild the minor leagues, rebuild talent coming into the big leagues, go the Tampa Bay route because that's the only way you can do it in baseball, and so they'll try to make a competitive team, but I mean, first day of spring training and already listen to me.
Yeah, negative. It's all negative.
Yeah, I'm ready to blow my brains out here. I mean, if I was a Marlins fan, there is some optimism among bookies as the over/under number. Big Possum says it's 75. I saw it at like 76,
76. I thought 76.
maybe
Yeah.
76 and a hook,
Wow.
which
Yeah, exactly. They won 60 games last year.
last year, what they win? Did they win like 65 games? I forgot the total, but it was hard to watch. Yeah.
I don't even know. I'll look it up. We didn't even. That's funny. None of us
It
know.
might have been 69 games. Did they win 69?
I'll look
But
it up.
regardless, I mean, they have to play these monsters. What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, won the Cy Young.
Alcantara was tremendous last year. I mean,
Beautiful.
he was
Yeah.
obviously Cy Young winner. I mean,
Yeah.
and
favored to win it again. He's the shortest price to win the Cy Young in the National League.
They won 69 games last year. 69 games.
They're going to have a 7-game improvement in that division. That's some optimism. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but that's some optimism right there.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of games. I guess every team has one-run games. As I recall, last year, especially through the first like 2/3 of the season, and I don't know how much it mattered to them in the last third of the season, but they lost an inordinate number of one-run games. I mean, it was extremely frustrating watching the Marlins. Will they ever catch on? No, I mean, they've won a couple of World Series. After 97, I remember going to games. I kept my season tickets through 1998. I thought, well, I'll watch and see what happens here, see if they have, any chance of bouncing back and being good anytime in the near future. And actually, they did, it turned out, because 5 years later, they were able, or 6 years later, to win it again. But, I mean, will they ever catch on? We've been having this debate forever, whether or not hockey would work down here, whether baseball would work here. What do you think, Dave? I'm sure you've written many columns about this, like I've had many talk shows on the subject. Is it really ever going to catch on, baseball here? Or is it a surprise that the Latin community, really hasn't, grasped on to the whole concept that this is for them or whatever?
We would be having the same argument about NBA basketball if Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and all them weren't delivering winners year after year, or at least, a team that goes into a season trying to win rather than saying, hey, come back in 5 years, we'll be good. So look, everybody knows South Florida is an odd market, but you take a team that hasn't gone to the playoffs or barely sniffed a chance to go to them, like the Marlins in 2 decades, or the Panthers won their first playoff series last season in a quarter century. And you put them in any market, and they're not going to be, making big headlines and everybody in love with them.
Yeah, Mayo's still sour about that playoff victory against the Capitals. He thought surely he had that thing in the bag, man. They made that remarkable comeback, and then they get swept in the next series by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're sort of forgotten again. All right, so not much optimism, even though first day of spring training. They made some acquisitions. I mean, one of the things they don't seem to do enough of significance, although they do make some headlines because they are the only team, I think, in sports that has a female general manager and president, right?
Yeah, it's look. They're going about it in an interesting way, and Kim Ang's gonna, she has full power and brought in her assistant, and so yeah, there's some interesting things to watch and root for from a big picture perspective, diversity and breaking the glass ceiling and all that stuff. that's important in the larger society. But if we're talking baseball, um, you got to just their division is such a heavyweight to break through that it's tough to see them making much headway this year.
Is Bruce Sherman the Joe Philbin of baseball owners? I mean, we're always trying to attach a Joe Philbin tag to somebody that. I mean, what do we know about this guy? Do we have any idea where he's coming from? He'll make the occasional public statement. Loria, we despised. I mean, because we knew where he was coming from. I don't know. What is Bruce Sherman all about? Have you been able to pinpoint, where this guy, where his head is at?
Well, he's talking today at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So, what's the first question you would ask Bruce Sherman?
What the fuck is going on?
Are you happy?
Do you have any money? I mean, do you own this shirt on your back, Bruce? I don't know. What was his background? Do we know anything about this guy? He could be George Santos.
His background, part of it, anyways, was basically selling off the Miami Herald and making some money that way.
Of course it was.
Okay.
So yeah, but he has. If we're talking in the big game of sports owners today, the oligarchs of our society, he's a small player. Okay,
Yeah.
he doesn't have the money of the rest of the guys, and that's very well known, and plays into the picture of another issue with where the Marlins are going to go and how are they going to get there.
Do you see this team? I mean, being here, like way down the road. I mean, we'll be gone, possibly. You won't. You're a young man, but I'll be long gone. But I mean, will there always be a baseball team in Miami, in your opinion?
Well, where are they going to go? I mean,
Vegas. Everybody wants to go to Vegas.
Well, Oakland looks like they're doing the major league thing of ruining the franchise in Oakland to get to Vegas. They seem baseball desperately wants to get to Vegas, and it looks like Oakland is the front runner to get there.
Yeah. Remember when that was so taboo? You couldn't even mention Vegas.
Oh God!
You had been to Vegas in the last month. You couldn't even get any play whatsoever from the league. And now everybody wants to be there, which is kind of interesting because I remember I was in a cab talking to the cabbie. He asked me what I did or whatever. I told him I was in sports, and this was prior to them getting the hockey team, and he was telling me how it was going to be, very, very well received. That the locals were looking for something like this. It wasn't just the El Turistas that I mean, obviously weren't necessarily going to fill this arena night after night. And it turned out, I mean, because of the way, I don't know, why is it that NHL expansion teams, go out and they're in the Stanley Cup 2 years later? It even happened here, although never again, but, they're in the finals after a couple of years. It's amazing how, I don't know what it is about hockey and the way they do the expansion draft, but it seems like teams are able to prosper where, other leagues, you're floundering at the bottom for seemingly forever. Luby has something for you, Dave. I know you got to run pretty soon because you're almost there at spring training. But Luby, what do you got?
Well, I just want to switch gears to the Heat a little bit. You brought up the Heat, the banner franchise for South Florida, almost 30 years now. And we know that they don't accept being Look, they're not bad. We've seen them be bad. This is not bad. They're over 500, hovering around the 5th, 6th seed. It feels like the Nets will continue to fall. And they go and make some moves, I guess, in a sense. But it doesn't feel like a normal, they are a contender kind of Heat team. Where are you with the Heat after the All-Star break with a third of the season left?
Yeah, well, I like that they're trying. Look, Kevin Love, Corey Zeller, they're getting a little size, and but the NBA is such an odd across the league right now. Who is who? I mean, you go to any game and 4 starters are sitting out, and so you don't really have a feel for any team. Now the Heat. The bizarre part of the Heat, last year they led the league in 3-point shooting. They have essentially the same team back.
Yep.
And the last I looked, they were about 4th worst in 3-point shooting. So that makes no sense at all. And I'm sure it's Eric Spolstra is pulling out that nice head of hair he has, trying to figure out how to.
There is a little ball spot emerging. Yes.
There is. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
he's over 50. He looks like he's about 32.
That's crazy.
No, he has a youthful look.
50.
Very Riley-esque. Yeah, I mean, think about this. Ronnie Rothstein often alludes to this. He had a full head. I mean, he had a Jewish afro when he started coaching the team, the original Heat team in '88. Yeah. Now look at him. Yeah.
He had the perm look for a while. But yeah, the Heat, look, they're going to, for them, I agree, it's a very odd year for them. And between injuries, between, you kept waiting to get a little height. They're playing a swing man at the power forward right now. And very odd season. I agreed. And yet, they could end up with, the fourth, fifth seed in the league and in the East. And, that certainly isn't a bad year. And a lot of teams would take that, every year.
All right, I know you got to run. Just a couple of quick things. The good news is Vic Fangio is going to be the defensive coordinator
Yes.
of the Miami Dolphins. How comfortable do you feel with Tua coming back?
Well, I'm not. Look, they looked at the landscape and they saw we can't get anybody else. I mean, they're going all in on Tua because they don't.
No alternative. Yeah.
You're going to be in 1% on him, being 1,000% on him.
Yeah.
But as far as comfort, how can you be comfortable when you saw the injuries last year? I saw, and I know, I just saw up and down play from if he got hit in games, all his great games, there was minimal
contact
pressure on him. So now he's a young quarterback. Maybe he just needs a little more seasoning. I don't know, but tell me how his judo practice falls are going, and I'll tell you how comfortable I am. Because that's what he's doing. He's learning how to fall this year, so he doesn't get this off season, so he don't get, maybe to help him with concussions. That's not really how you want to base your future of your franchise on. Can he fall properly?
Imagine that film study, and you're watching like all Three Stooges routines, maybe a little Jerry Lewis. Never mind dissecting, the blitz that's coming from the Philadelphia Eagles, which was non-existent there in the second half of the Super Bowl. And this guy gets a head coaching job. That's a whole nother story. Dave, we love you, man. I mean, wish our best. Feel free to
Karate Kid.
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, feel free to do the Lombardo there and ask, Sherman. Hey, well, what the fuck's going on? With the first question over the press conference. That'd be great. Let's go to the distinguished columnist from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, Dave Hyde. Hey, Bruce, what the fuck is going on?
I'll tape you and I'll just play that, okay?
DeForest had a question for you. He used to be, a big mouth in his town. All right, excellent, Dave. Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, Marlins.
Yeah.
All right, Defo. See ya.
Thanks.
Los Marlins, ladies.